What if I told you that right now your brain is being rewired into an artificial form of ADHD, not by genetics, but by the environment you're in? Good news is, unlike genetic ADHD, you can completely reverse this within days using the neurological reset I'm about to show you. Now, I'm Rian Doris, founder and CEO of FlowState.com. We've trained everyone from Audi, Accenture, and the US Air Force to use neuroscience-based principles to access flow states at will. Now, you know that feeling. You sit down to work determined to be productive, but within minutes, your attention drifts. You're cycling through browser tabs, checking email, scrolling social media. An hour vanishes, leaving nothing but guilt in its wake. And you wonder, what's wrong with you? Are you lazy, undisciplined? Most people blame external distractions or personal shortcomings. In reality, you're likely suffering from something that resembles ADHD, and it's something that's much more widespread among high-achieving individuals. In the early 2000s, psychiatrist Ed Hallowell found himself puzzled by a growing number of patients. They were successful individuals who struggled with staying focused, but these patients, they were different. They didn't exhibit the typical signs of ADHD, like hyperactivity or impulsivity, beginning at a young age. Unlike genetic ADHD, their struggles appeared later as adults in demanding careers with non-stop pressure. After extensive research, Hallowell identified what he ended up calling attention deficit trait, or ADT, which is a condition that isn't genetic and can, thankfully, be completely reversed. Now, ADT, as opposed to ADHD, is purely a product of our modern world. Genetic ADHD is typically caused by imbalances in neurotransmitters, making it tough to regulate attention and impulses from an early age. ADT, however, develops later in life due to chronic stress and constant distractions. A stress expert, Robert Sapolsky, professor of biology at Stanford, notes anything that throws the body out of balance triggers a stress response. And if that response never fully shuts off, our brains may stay stuck in crisis mode. Attention span shrinks, working memory falters, it becomes harder to plan or see the big picture. And of course, ADT is kryptonite to flow state, that optimal zone of consciousness where you're completely absorbed in your work, time seems to disappear, and your productivity soars by up to 500%. Most advice on distraction is surface level, but ADT is neurochemical. And to reverse it, you need to intervene at the level of the nervous system. The protocol you're about to learn is designed to do exactly that, to restore the conditions required for flow. Here's how to overcome ADT and reclaim your ability to focus with depth. I was once working with the executive team of one of the 4 biggest tech companies. On a neurological level, their days were surprisingly similar to Navy SEALs. Constant urgency, shifting priorities, overwhelming uncertainty. And I asked them, how often are you getting into flow? They scoffed. We don't have enough time. Our priorities shift too much to be able to focus long enough to get into flow at all. How clear is your task priority over the span of a week? I asked them. Their certainty about priorities changed dozens of times weekly, they complained. Now, what about within a day? I asked. They laughed and said, no way. Constantly changing, even all day, half a day. Some nodded. An hour, more nodded. 30 minutes, everyone nodded. The lesson was clear. Regardless of the level of uncertainty in your environment, you can always carve out a pocket of certainty, even if it's only for 10 minutes. That's where minimum viable certainty comes in. Minimum viable certainty is the practice of committing to a single task with absolute conviction, eliminating all competing priorities temporarily despite extreme levels of surrounding uncertainty. It requires 3 elements: selecting the one thing that matters most right now, defining exactly how long you'll focus on it, and removing all possible distractions during that period, creating an island of certainty in an ocean of change. Now imagine a Navy SEAL in a burning building. Gunshots ring out, bullets whistle past. The situation is chaotic and rapidly changing. Yet even in this extreme environment, Navy SEALs find certainty, if only for a 5-minute window. Certainty equals clear goal times defined time frame times focused execution. When a SEAL focuses on clearing a single room in the next 90 seconds, everything else, even the gunfire, becomes secondary. Minimum viable certainty directly reverses the chaos caused by ADT by clearly defining exactly what you will do, how long you will do it, and ignoring everything else during that period. Minimum viable certainty activates your task positive network, your TPN, a neural circuit that filters out distractions. When the TPN activates, ADT symptoms end up retreating, and your capacity for flow state increases. This is why Navy SEALs can achieve flow even in combat. So how do we apply this Navy SEAL approach to overcome ADT? There's a few steps to do so. And by the way, if you want to master the minimum viable certainty framework we've just covered, grab the free PDF guide below. It distills everything we're covering today into a practical one-page framework. Now, step one is to create your certainty window. ADT thrives on ambiguity. When your brain doesn't have a specific target, it defaults to the path of least resistance, usually the most recent notification or the easiest distraction. So here's the 2-minute certainty protocol you can implement immediately that will combat attention deficit trait and help you mitigate its negative effect. So first, assess. Take exactly 120 seconds to scan everything on your plate. Write down all tasks vying for your attention. Don't solve anything yet, just get all in front of you. Second, decide. Ask, what is the one task that, if complete, would most unburden me? And third, commit. Select one task and determine how long you can maintain absolute certainty about its importance. Start small, just 10 minutes if needed, and bear in mind that the more chaotic the work is, the shorter the certainty window will be. One of the best examples I've seen of creating certainty windows, no matter how short, came up in a conversation I had with ex-Navy SEAL Rich Divini and Dr. Andrew Huberman. Huberman described watching Rich navigate an airport. Rich treated every step as a mini operation or micro mission. Moving through security, he was 100% focused on that task alone. No conversation, just complete attention. The moment they hit the security line, Rich executed with military precision. Shoes off, laptop out. After clearing security, Rich checked his watch. Checkpoint cleared. He then reoriented, assessing what's next. Security mission accomplished, next mission. Acquire food, then eat, then board. One micro mission at a time within set certainty windows. Now, your certainty window might sound like something like this. For the next 30 minutes, I'm writing the introduction for my presentation. Nothing else matters during this window. This precise articulation immediately interrupts the neurological signature of ADT. The brain's alarm system, its amygdala, calms. Your attentional systems, your anterior cingulate cortex, focus, and your working memory, dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, engages fully with the task, directly reversing the neural pattern of ADT. The key is that you intentionally pick a priority and give it your full focus without doubting whether it's the right thing to do. Between certainty windows, you briefly lift your head to reassess priorities and realign. Check your messages, to-do list, calendar, and pick your next certainty window and micro mission. Find that certainty window, execute within it, refine it, execute within it, and repeat. That's the pattern of the Navy SEALs. Step 2 is to protect your certainty window. At this point, we need to build a force field around your attention to proactively block any potential interference. Here we want to use technological barriers like the Freedom app to block distracting websites or use noise-canceling headphones. Now next, go dark. Turn off your phone completely and get it out of the room. Now, studies show that simply having your phone visible, even if it's powered off, can measurably reduce working memory and cognitive performance. Having your phone next to you while working is kind of like dieting with a cake sitting on your desk. It's always pulling your attention, even if you resist it. Then, physically remove all other options from view. Close unnecessary tabs, silence notifications, and create a single task environment. When you create an ADT-proof environment, you're eliminating the very triggers that kick your brain into the frazzled state of ADT in the first place. Set up social barriers too. Tell colleagues, please don't interrupt me for the next 30 minutes unless it's truly urgent. Now, step 3 is to sustain your certainty window. Once you've created your certainty window, the next challenge is maintaining it despite the chaos that surrounds you. The key is to make the certainty window short enough to be able to sustain it. This is actually where most people fail. They abandon their certainty at the first hint of doubt or distraction. And if you want to experience more flow state, it's key to realize this. Flow state is part of a 4-phase cycle. Struggle, release, the flow state itself, and then bam, recovery on the back end. The first phase, struggle, is neurochemically uncomfortable. When you start your certainty window, you'll feel like resistance emerging, boredom, or an urge to check email or distract yourself in some way. This discomfort is when you're most vulnerable to breaking your commitment to your certainty window. Recognize this feeling as normal, not as a signal that you should switch tasks. The most important part is seeing your certainty window through to completion, even if halfway through you become convinced you're working on the wrong thing. Because breaking the window prematurely resets the entire flow cycle and casts you back into uncertainty. If your attention starts slipping, use this quick flow state breath to reset your brain. Inhale through your nose for 3 seconds. Hold for 2 seconds. And then, gently and ever so slowly, exhale through the mouth for 10 seconds. Repeat that 3 times. This breathing pattern quickly calms your sympathetic nervous system, reducing the neurochemical chaos that disrupts your certainty. Another key to sustaining your certainty window is positional rotation. Our ancestors naturally rotated positions throughout the day, sitting, standing, walking. So stand up, If you've been sitting, move to a different chair or workspace or briefly walk around. Changing your physical state signals to your brain that something new and engaging is happening. It resets perceived exertion and effort and thus instantly refreshes your attention. Now, most knowledge workers exist in constant flux, an open sea of ADT-driven uncertainty, which makes them assume there's no point in finding certainty because it'll be erased just as quickly. But finding and holding certainty for even 15 to 30 minutes is valuable because you can repeat that process back to back to back. A 30-minute certainty window created repeatedly over an 8-hour day means you're always certain. While millions succumb to ADT's effects, minimum viable certainty gives you a distinct advantage in our distracted world. Every time you successfully push back against ADT, you're rewiring your brain to become more resistant to the very forces that hold so many people back from achieving what they're truly capable of. The gap between who you are and who you could be is largely determined by your ability to overcome ADT. Master these techniques and you'll accomplish in days what takes others months because you've learned to harness your mind's full capacity in an age where focused attention has become our scarcest resource. Now, if you want to clobber ADT entirely and make sure it never comes back, check out the following video. We'll overhaul your relationship with your phone and tell you the exact settings peak performers use to achieve levels and durations of focus that most only dream of.